Welcome back to Left, Labor Education for today. This is the weekly recap where we talk about three top stories from the world of labor this week. And in our first story, all eyes are on the UAW and their continued contract negotiations with the Big Three Detroit auto manufacturers. Now that we're inside 1 month from the UAW's contract expiration on September 14th, I want to start off by providing an update on the status of negotiations between the UAW and Ford, Stellantis, and GM. In this week's Facebook live stream, UAW President Shawn Fain expressed his frustration with the pace and progress of contract negotiations.
Progress right now is slow. It's too slow. Today marks 30 days until our contract expires, and yet we're still bargaining over non-economics at all three companies. That's unacceptable. The Big Three need to get serious, and they need to get down to business, and it's our job to make them do it.
Along with this frustration came the first step in the escalation of a UAW strike, with Fain previewing the initiation of a strike authorization vote to start next week.
That's why starting now, we're directing Big Three locals across the country to schedule a strike authorization vote as soon as possible. It is critically important that everyone votes, and that everyone votes yes to authorizing a strike should one need to be called. This isn't just a strike vote. It's a demonstration of our strength. It's a sign of our unity. And it's a statement about our resolve. It means all of us together sending a message to the Big Three CEOs. The choice is yours about what happens next. Either stop dragging your feet in negotiations or be prepared to strike.
The UAW also said on Tuesday that it has increased the strike pay per UAW member to $500 per week, and that the union has a total of $825 million sitting in its strike fund, ready to be utilized if the company is unable to reach a tentative agreement with the UAW by September 14th, that contract expiration date. And in the meantime, with the initiation of the strike vote happening next week, President Shawn Fain has asked local union leaders to have their votes tallied and returned by August 24th. Meanwhile, a leak from the management side of the house over at Ford suggests that leadership is asking white-collar workers to prepare for business continuity planning in the event that UAW does go on strike. According to reports from the Detroit Free Press, one of those managers recorded a meeting between leadership and white-collar workers where management discussed potential need for business continuity planning. And supposedly, the company is already thinking about the situation in pretty significant detail, as the meeting discussed a description of potential work hours for managers, potential changes to their work location or travel requirements, as well as a summary of job duties and safety training that managers might need to receive, and even potential exception categories if a manager is not able to participate in this business continuity planning that would take them away from their normal job and onto the either manufacturing lines or to one of their parts depots to at least maintain some level of business continuity and minimize that business disruption if the UAW were to go on strike. And when asked about potential strike preparations, Ford did confirm that they are taking steps to minimize any potential business interruption, saying, like we would for any scenario where customer service could be interrupted, Ford is planning for the possibility of a work stoppage. Safety and customer service are top priorities for us. We have a responsibility to our customers and dealers to ship the parts that keep Ford vehicles on the road, especially to keep first responders and other essential services running. Of course, in the event of a strike, it would be impossible for Ford, GM, or Stellantis to be able to maintain 100% of their existing business operations. However, it is very important to these companies to be prepared for that situation and also to be able to convince Wall Street that they're thinking about these concerns in advance of a potential strike. And in our second story of the week, Cornell University is poised to end its partnership with Starbucks after months of student outcry and backlash regarding the company's alleged anti-union activities. A few weeks ago, I reported on the Labor Board's decision against Starbucks and in favor of Starbucks Workers United relating to a college store town in Ithaca, New York, on the fringe of Cornell University's campus. And since then, Cornell students have only increased their criticism of the Seattle-based coffee maker, calling for an end to the partnership that allows Cornell to serve Starbucks coffee across its on-campus dining hall. And this week, that's exactly what Cornell University's administration has pledged to do, releasing a statement that they would end their participation in the We Proudly Serve Starbucks program by no later than the end of the current contract in June 2025. And in a statement released by Vice President of University Relations Joel Molina, he says, Cornell Dining does not intend to serve Starbucks coffee in its cafe venues after the current agreement with the company expires in 2025. As President Martha Pollack mentioned in her response to a related Student Assembly resolution, Cornell Dining, in consultation with the Student Assembly Dining Services Committee, will initiate an inclusive process to select its next coffee product offerings and to ensure a smooth transition to a new vendor in 2025. Now, remember that the National Labor Relations Board did rule that Starbucks is required to reopen its College Town store on the edge of Cornell University's campus, and Starbucks is currently appealing that decision. But the decision by administration to end its participation in the We Proudly Serve Starbucks program is in relation to serving coffee across its on-campus dining halls. And pundits are now speculating whether additional boycotts could be on the horizon for Starbucks from other companies or other universities across the country. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as Starbucks continues to accumulate additional unfair labor practice charges, additional unfavorable decisions by the National Labor Relations Board. More stores continue to organize new unions across the country, and Starbucks continues to be the center of additional negative media attention. And in our third story of the week, while hotel workers represented by Unite Here Local 11 continue their participation in rolling strikes throughout the Los Angeles, California area, their counterparts from Unite Here Local 1 in Chicago have reached an agreement with downtown hotel operators Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt. As hotel workers in the Los Angeles, California area continue their on-again, off-again strike activity throughout the region, their counterparts in the Chicago area have come to an agreement with the hotel operators about 2 weeks prior to their contract expiration on August 31st. Karen Kent, the president of those Unite Here Local 1 Chicago hotel workers, said that this agreement will allow us to bring our collective focus back to showing visitors to Chicago true hospitality, starting with the return of daily room cleaning. It is a path forward which begins our world-class city's return to first-class guest service and takes care of the workers who are at the heart and soul of the Chicago hospitality experience. And as part of this agreement, as referenced by President Kent, the downtown hotel operators have committed to a return to daily housekeeping for all guest rooms, which does provide more regular hours for housekeepers. The agreement also includes a $2 per hour raise at a minimum for all non-tipped workers, increasing that minimum wage now to $25 per hour. And also the agreement includes several additional benefits as far as healthcare and pension-related benefits for all covered workers. Meanwhile, there appears to be no end in sight for the continued striking activity from Unite Here Local 11 hotel workers out in Los Angeles, California, as negotiations continue to be deadlocked with their hotel operator negotiating counterparts. And instead, what you're seeing is a coalition of neighboring unions in the California area coming together in solidarity with Unite Here Local 11. And that coalition of California unions represents nearly 2.1 million workers from California's education, retail, and public service sectors. And they have come together and voiced solidarity with Unite Here Local 11, committing to provide financial support to help those hotel workers reach their contractual demands through this bargaining process. And in a statement, they said that we will back Unite Here Local 11 strikes financially and otherwise until they win. Securing living wages and financial security for working people remains forever and always our number one priority. When we fight together, we win for everyone. And so that's just a small taste of what's going on in the world of work here in the US as of August 2023. It continues to be a very active summer for workers across the country, and I'm happy to continue providing updates through these weekly recaps. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I hope that you check back again next week for another edition of the weekly recap. Thanks for watching, and take care.